This learning module is the first of a series of short training webinars for volunteer peer helpers participating in the implementation of Helping Offenders Prosper Through Employment, a mentoring program for incarcerated youth and their caregivers. This video will offer a brief introduction to HOPE and its family component, Hope for Home. We call the peer helpers of Hope for Home family coaches. Their role is to help adult caregivers develop and apply new knowledge and skills to their interactions with youth during and after incarceration. The family coaches are not counselors, therapists, or social workers. They provide support and guidance as adult caregivers use the knowledge and skills they gain through their participation in Hope for Home. After completing this first learning module, you will be able to describe the family component of the HOPE program called Hope for Home, understand the goals of Go Hope for Home, use questionnaires to obtain information about the family environment of incarcerated youth, and work collaboratively with legal guardians and other adult caregivers. Let's now talk about HOPE and Hope for Home. HOPE is a mentoring program for youth in correctional detention centers. Each youth is paired with a HOPE mentor. The dyads meet weekly to discuss employment-related issues, explore career options, and develop pre-employment skills. Hope for Home is the family component of HOPE. Youth's adult caregivers are invited to participate in family psychoeducation and coaching activities during and after detention. These activities are designed to enhance their capacity to support the youth reentry and employment goals. Reentry is a word used to refer to the transition from life in detention to life in the community. In the HOPE program, reentry is a process that begins as soon as the youth enters the correctional facility to help him prepare for everyday life at home. The psychoeducational and coaching activities of Hope for Home are designed to increase adult caregivers' understanding of typical behaviors in adolescence, build skills that increase adult caregivers' responsiveness to adolescent needs, promote positive adult involvement in youth's everyday life, as well as positive youth-adult interactions that support adolescent development, including social-emotional well-being and school and career choices, enhance adult caregivers' pro-social influence on incarcerated youth and thus reduce juvenile recidivism post-release. How does it work? In the Hope for Home program, family psychoeducation is delivered in a group format composed of 3 to 4 adult caregivers. After a careful assessment of the youth and their family environment, qualified adult caregivers are identified and invited to participate in Hope for Home. For each youth receiving HOPE mentoring, 1 adult caregiver receives psychoeducation and coaching in the Hope for Home program. Adult caregivers meet 4 times in a group setting with 2 to 3 other caregivers to complete the psychoeducational activities. A family coach facilitates the psychoeducational activities and group discussions. When youth return to the community, adult caregivers receive ongoing support services through regular phone contact with their HOPE family coach. The goal is to help adult caregivers apply the knowledge and skills they have gained from the psychoeducational activities to their interactions with the youth. It is expected that their new knowledge and skills will increase their ability to work with youth and help them manage challenges at home, at school, and at work. How do family coaches collect information about the youth's family environment? The next slides will describe the steps and tools the family coaches use to identify adult caregivers who will participate in Hope for Home and to determine the risk and protective factors that influence their youth behaviors in the family environment. Hope for Home begins with a careful assessment of the youth's family environment. The objectives are to identify qualified adults who have the potential to serve as prosocial role models, to gather information about risk and protective factors in the youth, family, and community environment, to track change and evaluate the effects of the program on the family environment, and to use the information to formulate goals for life in the community. The family coaches use 5 tools to collect information about the family environment, to formulate goals for life in the community, and to evaluate the effects of Hope for Home. The Intake Family Questionnaire can be found in the Hope Manual, page 11 and 12. It is designed to help identify the adult caregiver who is most likely to have a prosocial role in the youth's everyday life in the community. This person may or may not be the youth's legal guardian. It is an adult relative who engages in prosocial activities like community service, religious activities, coaching sports team, an adult who the youth looks up to and or trusts, and or an adult who the youth may go to for advice. As soon as the youth enters the correctional facility, he or she completes the Intake Family Questionnaire and draws a family genogram with their Hope mentors. Likewise, the family coach asks the youth legal guardian to answer the questions on the Intake Family Questionnaire soon after the youth enter the correctional facility. The youth, the legal guardian, the Hope mentor, and the family coach work together to identify the adult caregiver who is qualified to participate in Hope for Home. To complete the Family Intake Questionnaire and identify a qualified caregiver, the family coaches ask questions such as, who is most likely to commit time to the program during and after youth confinement? Who is most likely to engage in prosocial activities with the youth after confinement? Who is the youth most comfortable going to for help? You may also use the questions listed in the manual on page 11. In deciding which relative is the best candidate for Hope for Home, it is important to consider risk factors such as adult substance use and legal problems. Adult relatives who are actively using substances are less likely to be available and able to support youth reentry goals. Also remember to discuss the information you obtain with the legal guardian in a way that is collaborative. The legal guardian and you are making a collaborative decision based on knowledge about the youth's family environment. The Hope for Home survey can be found in the Hope for Home manual on page 24 and 25. It is a self-report questionnaire designed to evaluate the effects of the program on adult caregivers' understanding of adolescent development. The family coach administers the Hope for Home survey to the adult caregiver at the beginning of the first psychoeducation session and at the end of the fourth psychoeducation session. The Strength and Difficulties Questionnaire, or SDQ, can be found in the Hope Manual on page 22. The SDQ is a self-report questionnaire designed to evaluate the effects of the program on adult caregivers' perception of the youth's emotional, behavioral, and social functioning. The family coach administers the SDQ to the adult family member participating in Hope for Home at the beginning of the first session and prior to youth's discharge from the detention center. To measure the effects of Hope for Home on youth self-efficacy and youth-adult interaction, the youth completes 2 self-report questionnaires when they enter and exit the detention facility. These are the General Self-Efficacy Scales, which can be found on page 19 of the Hope for Home Manual, and the Parental Nurturance Scale, which can be found on page 20 and 21 of the Hope for Home Manual. Information obtained from the youth scores on the GSC and PNS at the start of detention is used to formulate goals for family coaching. It is important to note that assessment is collaborative. It is based on the assumption that the youth, their legal guardians, and other adult caregivers are experts in their own life. They have special knowledge about their everyday life, their relationship, and their community. To foster a sense of collaboration, the family coaches introduce the questionnaires and explain their purpose to the youth's legal guardian. For example, they may say, "I very much appreciate you taking 5 minutes to answer this questionnaire. Your answers will help me better understand what we need to work on. They will also help me monitor our progress towards the goals of the program. There are no right or wrong answers. Just tell me what you think." The family coaches adopt a non-judgmental attitude towards the legal guardian who completes the questionnaire and the adult caregiver who participates in the psychoeducational activities of Hope for Home. Remember, the legal guardian and the adult caregiver may or may not be the same person. The family coaches show respect by listening actively. For example, they may nod or repeat what they heard. I hear you, it was not easy to get your teen to do what you told him. To collect accurate information, it is very important to verify the legal guardian understands the instructions of the self-report questionnaires. Family coaches should explain how to complete the questionnaires. For example, they may say, "This questionnaire asks you to check one box only. This questionnaire asks you to choose the number that best describes how much you agree with each statement in the table." This is the end of the first learning module of the Hope for Home Family Coach training. The Hope for Home consultant is available to answer your questions at the email address you received with the Hope for Home manual. You are now ready to watch the second webinar in this series to learn how to use the information you have collected from the youth, the legal guardian, and/or the adult caregiver, and to formulate goals for working with the youth's adult caregiver.